Unveiling a mother's pain. Why my daughter's engagement dinner left me haunted forever. The air was thick with anticipation, the kind that creeps in when the world tilts just slightly off-center. Rachel stood by her window, the golden glow of the setting sun wrapping the house in a warm embrace. But something ugly lurked beneath the surface, something sinister that coiled around her heart like a python tightening its grip. Today was supposed to be perfect. It was the engagement dinner for her only daughter Lila. A night of joy mixed with future dreams. Yet the shadows danced in her mind, whispering doubts that gnawed at her insides as guests arrived. Excitement shimmered in their eyes, laughter bounced off the walls, but Rachel felt like a ghost haunting her own home. There was the flaming red dress Lila wore, so vibrant it almost glowed in the dimmed light, a striking contrast to the dark clouds Rachel couldn't shake. She watched her daughter flit about like a butterfly, blissfully unaware of the nails scratching at Rachel's sanity. Then came the peculiar incident. The lights flickered 3 times, just before Lila's fiancé Marcus arrived. It was brief, but the way the room dimmed felt almost like a warning. Rachel's heart raced. Was it a mere coincidence? The flicker seemed to synchronize with the foreboding silence that followed. Whispers rippled through the crowd, eyes darting, heads tilting. Was anyone else feeling it? The air chilled as a shiver crawled up Rachel's spine. And Lila, with her bright smile, had no idea that a storm was brewing just beyond the veil of happiness. "Mom, did you see Marcus? He looks incredible." Lila beamed, her voice like a bell ringing clear, cutting through the thickening tension. But there was something in Marcus's gaze, something unsettling. A flicker of something darker behind those warm eyes. Rachel's chest tightened. She fought against the lump in her throat, swallowing hard as she forced a smile. "Yes, sweetheart, he looks wonderful." Just as they gathered for a toast, an eerie silence blanketed the room. It felt suffocating. Rachel's fingers trembled around her glass. The oddity of it ate away at her. She could sense it, the crowd, their collective energy shifting. The laughter now faded into strained murmurs. A heavy, inexplicable dread loomed, stronger than the aroma of fine food surrounding them. "Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue." The room felt electric with unspoken words as the clinking of glasses echoed. But then Lila's eyes widened, locking onto something behind Rachel. Panic shot through her. "Mom, look out!" She screamed just as the glass slipped from Rachel's hand, shattering on the floor, a symbol of everything breaking apart. Rachel turned, her heart pounding, but there was nothing there. Nothing but the chill of uncertainty wrapping around her like a predator waiting for the right moment to strike. The guests exchanged glances, apprehension thickening the air. "What's wrong?" someone whispered sharply. Rachel's mind raced. She'd sensed it. The atmosphere suddenly felt hostile, suffocating. There was a ghost in the room, or perhaps a deeper darkness lurking that no one else could see as she felt the walls closing in. One question gnawed at her: what was happening to her daughter, to her family? And what, or who was drawing them into this unknown abyss? Rachel's heart hammered in her chest, the kind of rhythmic thud that drowned out all other sounds. The shards of glass glinted on the floor, reflecting the flickering candlelight, almost mocking the chaos brewing within her. She fought to catch her breath as Lila rushed over, concern etched on her beautiful face. "Mom, are you okay?" Lila grasped Rachel's shoulders, shaking her gently. But Rachel could hardly focus on her daughter's worried eyes. No, it was that chilling gaze of Marcus's, lingering just beyond the crowd, watching with an intensity that sent cold tendrils down her spine. Before she could formulate a response, the lights flickered again, plunging them into darkness for a heartbeat. The shadows were alive. Just as abruptly, the lights returned, illuminating Marcus standing resolutely apart from the rest, a slight smirk curling his lips. It was a small gesture, but the energy in the room shifted, thickening like a fog closing in. Guests resumed their chatter, but laughter felt forced, strained. Rachel's hands shook, and she clenched them into fists, willing the dread to recede. Mom, let us take a breath outside, Lila urged, sensing the tension. Rachel nodded, desperate for air away from the cramped, suffocating feeling inside. They slipped through the back door into the cool evening, the contrast hitting like a bomb against her frayed nerves outside. The garden was lit with twinkling fairy lights, but even the soft glow felt ominous. Rachel breathed deeply, taking in the fresh scent of damp earth, but the chill of the earlier moment followed her like a storm cloud. Lila's voice floated softly beside her. Really, Mom, what was that about? You seemed scared. Rachel hesitated, the lump in her throat returning. How could she explain the trepidation gnawing at her? The way those flickering lights felt like echoes of a warning? It's just so strange tonight. I feel like something's off with Marcus. Lila frowned, crossing her arms. He's perfect for me, Mom. He loves me. There was a sharpness to her tone, a defense that Rachel hadn't anticipated. Lila, I know he seems that way. Rachel started, but Lila interrupted, her voice rising. Then why do you have to ruin this for me? I'm happy. Rachel stepped back, stunned. How had this moment turned so confrontational? The sound of laughter floated through the open door, but it felt distant now, as if the joy of the night was a world away. I'm not trying to ruin anything. I just want you to be safe, she replied, desperation lacing her voice. But Lila turned away, brushing a fragile tear away. I just wish you believed in me more. As silence descended, Rachel's heart sank, longing for the ease of the past. She couldn't shake the feeling that darkness was descending upon them, thickening the air with an unspoken menace. Suddenly, Rachel's phone buzzed in her pocket, breaking the tension. It was a message from an unknown number. Trust your instincts. He is not who he seems. Her heart jolted. She glanced at Lila, who had turned back to the warmth of the house, unaware of the storm brewing around them. Would she show the message, or would it escalate the rift forming between mother and daughter? Foreboding grew, and Rachel's gut churned with an urgent need to protect her daughter. But how could she when Lila wouldn't listen? Just as she summoned the strength to follow her daughter inside, a shadow flickered at the edge of her vision, a dark figure watching. Rachel spun, her breath hitching in her throat. The garden felt smaller, the laughter now hauntingly hollow. Who was watching? What were they trying to warn her about? The evening had only just begun, but the real nightmare was only beginning to unfold. Rachel's pulse quickened as she scanned the dimly lit garden, her eyes searching for the source of the unsettling presence. The air thickened, each breath dragging painfully through her lungs. Her instincts screamed at her to take Lila and run, yet her feet felt like lead, frozen on the spot. Mom? Lila's voice broke through the fog of anxiety, her tone a mixture of curiosity and concern. What are you looking for? Rachel turned back to her daughter, forcing a smile. Just thought I saw something. Let us head back in, okay? Before they could step toward the door, the figure emerged from the shadows. It was Marcus, sliding through the artificial glow of the garden lights with a predator's grace. His expression had shifted. That charming grin was gone, replaced by an unsettling darkness that sent a chill down Rachel's spine. Lila, I need to speak with you, he said, the smoothness of his voice encased in ice. Lila hesitated, glancing from Marcus to Rachel, sensing the tension ripple between them. What's wrong, Marcus? Is everything okay? Marcus took a step closer, eyes intent and piercing, as if he could see right through Rachel. Just a private matter. Can you give us a moment? Rachel's voice was firmer than she felt, but instinct drove her. It flared through her body, igniting a fierce protectiveness all too familiar. The silence thickened as Lila glanced between the two, uncertainty etching lines on her flawless face. I'll be right back, okay? She said softly, the uncertainty in her voice a foreboding echo. No, Lila. I don't trust him. Rachel blurted, and for a moment the world stopped. The air crackled with raw emotion. Lila's expression darkened, confusion twisting into anger. Why can't you just trust my choice for once? It's not about that. Rachel insisted, voice trembling with desperation. I just feel there's something he is hiding. Something you don't see. Marcus stepped towards Rachel, something sinister lurking in his gaze. I promise, Rachel. I have no intention of harming your daughter. But families can cause unnecessary rifts, don't you think? Rachel's throat tightened. She took a step back, her heart pounding. That's a threat. she whispered, horrified at how easily the words escaped her lips. It's not a threat. It's a reminder. Marcus spoke slowly, a calm yet chilling assurance in his tone. Trust is a delicate thing, I see it. Let us not break it over misunderstandings. Rachel's stomach churned. Did he truly believe this was just an isolated incident? Did he think she would bow to his intimidation? She wanted to scream, to claw back control of this nightmare before it consumed her whole family. Lila, please, she cried, reaching for her daughter's hand. You can't just listen to him. But Lila pulled away, a fidget of frustration flashing across her face. You're being dramatic, Mom. Turning back to Marcus, her voice softened. I need to hear what he has to say. Just give me a minute. No, this isn't a game. Rachel's voice cracked, the weight of her fears crashing down around her. She felt like she was losing her daughter again, slipping through her fingers like sand. Just then her phone buzzed again. Another message flashing on the screen. Trust no one, it read. Rachel's eyes widened in shock, heart pounding. She looked up at Marcus, whose expression had hardened into something dangerous. The laughter from inside the house faded, leaving only the sound of her own spiraling thoughts. Lila turned, confusion flickering in her gaze as she watched her mother grapple with her emotions and the growing tension. Rachel, Marcus spoke, his voice like honey but dripping with malice. You really ought to go inside. In that moment Rachel knew. Not only was the evening's joy fading, but shadows were coming to life in ways she never could have imagined. She felt a primal urge to protect Lila from the darkness surrounding them. But how could she fight against something so hidden? Lila, we need to go, Rachel shouted, but as she reached out, a rush of cold wind swept through the garden, leaving a haunting silence in its wake and behind. Marcus, lurking in the shadows, another silhouette emerged. A smile perfectly cruel. The evening had just turned into a nightmare. But this was still only the beginning. The air was thick with tension, each heartbeat thumping in Rachel's ears louder than the whispering wind. The figure that had stepped out from the darkness revealed itself more fully, and Rachel's stomach dropped. It wasn't just any shadow, it was Lena, a woman from Marcus's past, a name that landed like a stone in Rachel's gut. Despite the years that had passed, the leftover spark in Lena's eyes was unmistakable. Marcus, Lena called softly, her voice like silk but with a steely edge. What's going on here? Rachel's mind raced. Lena had always been a reminder of what Marcus had tried to hide from them, an echo of betrayal that had haunted Rachel through sleepless nights. She could feel Lila's confused gaze moving between them, the uncertainty swirling like a storm. Nothing that concerns you, Lena, Marcus replied coolly, brushing her off with an ease that left Rachel breathless. Are you sure about that? Lena stepped closer, her expression shifting. Because it looks like you're out of your depth. I thought I warned you about the consequences of meddling. Rachel felt a thunderclap of adrenaline as she realized, with chilling clarity, that this wasn't just an awkward encounter. It was a reckoning. She shot a desperate glance at Lila, whose face paled as she absorbed the emerging tension. Mom, what is happening? Lila's voice trembled, her confusion turning to fear. Lila, trust me, Rachel shouted, feeling the walls close in around her. You don't know anything about him or her. Lena took a steps toward Lila, a saccharine smile painted on her lips. Sweetheart, your mother is just worried about nothing. Marcus cares about you, you should be grateful. Grateful? Rachel spat, venom burning in her throat. For what? The lies? The secrets? Lila looked back at Rachel, frustration igniting in her eyes. Mom, stop. This isn't fair. Fair. Rachel laughed humorlessly, the tension pressing down harder. They've spun a web of deceit. And you're caught in the middle. You can't see it. Marcus stepped closer to Lila, forging a path through Rachel's suffocating panic. Lila, it's going to be okay. I promise I'll protect you. Trust me. The hair on the back of Rachel's neck prickled. No, don't. She yelled, her voice raw and jagged. You shouldn't trust someone who puts on a facade like that. Suddenly, a loud crash came from the house, breaking the suffocating moment. Startled, all heads turned toward the source of the noise. Shattered glass glinted ominously in the dim light, an echo of chaos rippling through the evening. Stay back, Rachel shouted instinctively, positioning herself between her daughter and the broken door. Out stepped Greg, a family friend, panic etched across his face soaked in shadow. Rachel. Lila. You won't believe what I just saw. His words tumbled out in frantic bursts. There's someone inside, someone who doesn't belong. Mom, what is happening? Lila pressed, darting toward Greg. No. Get away. Rachel's instinct surged. Lila needed to be protected from the potential danger lurking within those walls. Rachel's heart raced as she glanced between Marcus and Lena. Their expressions sharpened into predatory anticipation. This doesn't concern you, Greg, Marcus growled, tension stretching like a coiled spring. Rachel could feel it, the impending clash, the fork in the road of their lives. The weight of the choices snaked around her, constricting until she gasped for air. What do we do? She asked Greg, urgency lacing her tone. But Marcus had other plans. He turned, eyes blazing as they settled on Lila. You're better than this, Lila. Don't let her control you. Rachel felt her world falter, shambles falling around her. Was she losing Lila all over again? Another crash erupted from inside, and the low rumble of fear twisted Rachel's insides. The night wasn't finished with them yet. The darkness encroached further, a blanket wrapping tight around every fear they'd ever held. And then, as if on cue, another text lit up Rachel's phone, a picture of Lila, smiling innocently beside Marcus, but a shadow loomed behind them, something twisted and dark. Who sent this? Rachel whispered, dread flooding her voice. But the cryptic reality had already begun to unfurl, its grip tightening. As Lila looked back at her mother, doubt danced in her eyes, a storm brewing unseen. What had they unleashed? What shadows followed them now? Rachel's pulse quickened as her eyes darted around, collecting pieces of the chaos unfolding. What lurked inside the house? An image of Lila beside Marcus, innocent and happy, but tainted by a shadow that felt unnaturally alive. With every echo of glass shattering behind them, a dark wave crashed over her. For Lila's sake, she had to know. Greg, get Lila out of here. Rachel urged, her voice frayed with urgency. She scanned the entrance, mentally preparing herself for whatever horror lay beyond the door. Rachel, no. Greg protested, though Rachel hardly noticed his fear. The imminent danger consumed every thought. Rachel felt the dark chill wrap tighter around her, and for a moment, she caught a glimpse of Marcus and Lena, their shared history crackling with tension like an electric charge. You're making a mistake, Rachel, Marcus warned, his voice deepening with simmering anger. You're going to regret this. Lila stood frozen, oscillating between her mother and Marcus, the innocence slowly draining from her face. Mom, please. Just listen to him. Lila. Panic clawed at Rachel's throat. Your life depends on you trusting me. Not him. Not her. Before she could process the look of betrayal dawning on her daughter's face, a loud crash boomed from inside the house again, followed by a disembodied, panicked voice. Help! Someone's in here. Every nerve in Rachel's body screamed at her to act, but the moment hung suspended in time. The echo of that voice stirred something deep in her, a fear buried under years of denial. Who's there? Rachel shouted into the dark, her heart racing, her instinct tingling, as a sense of hopelessness washed over her. Show yourself. Behind her, Lena's laughter sliced through the tension like a knife. Brave, aren't you? But why reveal your heart when it holds nothing but fear? Rachel turned, catching a glimpse of Lena's smile, a twisted mockery of confidence that sent ice running through her veins. What are you talking about? Rachel snarled, her hands trembling with resolve. Your truth is out there, Rachel, Lena said, eyes glinting in the darkness. All of it. You'd be surprised what you'd learn if you look hard enough. A thud reverberated from inside the house, breaking the moment of charged silence. Rachel's heart lurched. Whatever had entered their sanctuary was ready to unleash chaos. We need to go. Greg shouted, pushing forward. He grabbed Lila's arm. We can't do this. It's not safe. No. Rachel shouted, spinning around. There was no way she could let Lila go anywhere near Marcus. Don't listen to him. You're not safe with him. But doubt flickered in Lila's eyes, a split second filled with indecision that felt like an eternity. Marcus saw it too. His jaw clenched tight as he stepped closer to Lila. You know you can trust me, honey. This is just your mother trying to protect her own ego. The words dripped with disdain, and Rachel felt them settle over her like a suffocating blanket. She turned back to the house, the crash still echoing, fear morphing into a desperate need to protect her family. An awkward silence stretched, palpable, before a figure leaped out from the shadows of the house, startling them all. It was them. The voice shouted in fear, wild-eyed. Rachel felt her heart stutter. It was Angela, a neighbor who had insisted on dropping by that evening. And yet, something felt off. The fear in Angela's eyes was palpable, deep, like she brought news that could upend everything. The party, it's not over. Angela gasped, stepping forward. They're coming for you all. Rachel's breath quickened as dread coiled tighter in her gut. How could this night be getting worse? What do you mean? Who's coming? Rachel demanded, tension rising in the air around them. Angela shook her head, eyes wide with terror. There's a darkness chasing you, Rachel. You need to listen. Lena's not just back for a friendly visit. Then it hit her. A chilling realization, a shadow that had followed them all along, just waiting for the right moment to strike. As Rachel grasped for the answers that eluded her, the night grew darker still. The air crackled with unspoken truths, the secrets clawing to break free. They were running out of time. What would they unleash if they stayed? What truths would they unearth if they left? Rachel felt the ground beneath her tremble, as if the earth itself was aware of the gathering darkness. Angela's breath came in frantic bursts, her hands shaking as if they were gripped by unseen chains. The truth hung heavy in the air, a weight Rachel couldn't ignore. Listen to her, Rachel. Greg's voice broke through the thick fog of confusion. We can't risk this. But the aching hurt in Lila's eyes pierced Rachel more than any threat. Mom, just tell me what's going on. The moment transformed into a vortex of sound and fear, pressure building between them like a tornado ready to drop from the sky. I don't know everything, Rachel shouted, desperation rising in her throat. Suddenly, a new crash echoed through the walls of the house. Angela recoiled, pressing back against the porch railing, her gaze wide and frantic. They're coming. We need to leave now. Marcus laughed softly. You really believe you can run from this? It's too late. His voice wrapped around Rachel like a chilling whisper, mocking her efforts. Rachel's heart raced. She couldn't let them be torn apart. She couldn't lose Lila. Get in the car, she barked to Greg. Now. Lila hesitated, her small frame wavering between the safety of her mother and the oddly comforting presence of Marcus. I don't want to go, trust me, Rachel exclaimed, urgency dripping from her voice. I will explain everything later. But as she watched Lila inch closer to Marcus, it felt like bricks were being laid in the path to destruction. Angela's eyes flared with terror. They control him, Rachel. If he gets to Lila before you cut that connection. Rachel flinched, the implication cutting deeper than she expected. The past held a snare, ready to catch them all. Enough with the distractions, Lena declared, her voice like ice cascading over them. She stepped forward, closing the gap with a predatory grace. Rachel, you've toyed with dark forces. Do you really think fighting back will change anything? But abandoning our lives to your chaos isn't an option, Rachel retorted, adrenaline surging through her. She noticed Marcus trembling in a way that left a pit in her stomach. Whatever dark hold Lena had on him was inescapable, entwining him in shadows. And yet, your daughter stands at the precipice of a lifetime of choices. Lena smirked, eyes glinting. Tonight isn't just a gathering. It's initiation. Rachel's mind raced as silence cloaked their sanctuary. What do you mean by initiation? She pressed, each word heavy with dread. Lena began to walk away, eliciting a throaty laugh. You'll find out soon enough unless you decide to face the darkness first. Before Rachel could think of a response, a whisper echoed through the night, thick and sinister. It wasn't just outside, it was inside her head. Let it happen. With every second that passed, Rachel felt the tether between them unravel. Lila, she cried, desperation lacing her voice. But Lila stood paralyzed, eyes darting from Rachel to Marcus, fear and confusion crossing her innocent face. Rachel's heart raced. She knew she had to act. I had to do something before that darkness seized her away. Lila, come to me. Suddenly, the door of the house slammed open, revealing a void of darkness that felt alive, breathing, roiling. Figures loomed in the doorway, their shapes indistinguishable, shadows twisting like snakes. Rachel instinctively reached for Lila, but this time her daughter didn't hesitate. Mom, I can handle this. Lila shouted, stepping toward Marcus. No. It was a scream now, raw and primal, spilling from Rachel's lips like shattered glass. There was a moment then, suspended in horror, where time felt infinite. The air electrified, crackling with harsh truth. Rachel's chest tightened, panic clawing at her throat. In that heartbeat she understood. This was not merely about fear, it was about survival and the grips of the approaching darkness. A choice loomed. Would Rachel let go? Or dive deeper into the heart of the nightmare to save her daughter? The shadows crept closer, and the ultimate question loomed. What was she willing to sacrifice to protect Lila? The darkness awaited its answer. Rachel's scream echoed, reverberating off the walls of the house just as the shadows began to slither forward, cohesive and sinuous. She could almost feel the cold breath of the dark figures, a frigid reminder of the terror closing in. In that suffocating moment, fear ignited an instinct as primal as any, the urge to protect. Lila, stay back, Rachel cried, horror pushing the words out with a force she didn't know she had. She stepped forward, desperate to shield her daughter with her own body. But Lila wasn't standing still. I'm not afraid, Mom, she declared, though her voice trembled, betraying her fear. Rachel pressed a hand to her heart, trying to stave off the panic that surged like fire through her veins. Every mother's instinct screamed at her to pull Lila away from Marcus, to shatter whatever dark connection tied them together. You don't understand, she shouted, struggling to hold her ground. He is not who you think he is. The shadows surged forward, and the unmistakable sound of whispered voices filled the air. A sinister cacophony that pulled at Rachel's sanity. Each beckoning call dripped with darkness, urging Lila to step closer. The figures in the doorway morphed, shapes indistinct, yet looming with a sense of a million eyes watching, waiting to witness the chaos to unfold. Rachel, you have to let her go, Greg said, his voice steady despite the trembling atmosphere. She needs to choose her path. Rachel's heart sank at those words. This wasn't a path, this was a precipice, one that led straight into a void. No, she shouted, shaking her head violently. I won't let you take my daughter. But Lila's expression shifted, tilting between anger and confusion. You're just scared. This is my life. Rachel felt her chest tighten even more. It was true. Beneath the terror, beneath the fear of the encroaching shadows, was a deep-rooted dread that gripped her heart. What had she sheltered her daughter from all these years? Had she unknowingly paved a path for this very moment? Rachel, think. Angela's voice, a strained whisper, was almost swallowed by the chaos gathering around them. If Lila chooses him, it binds you to them forever. The initiation, it's real. You have to stop it. Terror fueled Rachel's resolve. But still, the heartache she saw in Lila's eyes wrought confusion in her mind. If she kept fighting, would she sever the bond and lose her daughter forever? Lila, listen to me, Rachel croaked, forcing herself to meet her daughter's gaze. This isn't just about you or Marcus. There is something darker at play here. You need to trust me. But the moment Lila extended a hand toward Marcus, the air crackled with fate. The shadows surged forward, their energy palpable, as if the darkness itself craved her innocence. Let it happen flickered in Rachel's mind again. A haunting whisper that blended with the cry of the wind. Mom, stop, Lila said, anguish lacing her voice. You're being selfish. Rachel's blood turned to ice, her heart splintering. The reality was beginning to blur. The shadows pulsed with an energy that threatened to consume them all. Time stilled, and all that was left was a choice clawing at her. Either pull Lila back at any cost or risk losing her in the process. Marcus, Rachel shouted as she fought for clarity amid the chaos. You have to fight it. You can break free. For an instant, confusion flickered across his face, hesitation. Did it reach him? Could he rise above the darkness? Don't listen to her, Marcus, Lena hissed from beyond, and suddenly the figures behind her twisted, their shadows stretching, anchoring into reality around him. Rachel gripped her heart, feeling the familiar but unfurling pain. No. She lunged forward as Lila reached for Marcus, desperation sharp and biting. But as she fell into the depths of the darkness, the world swirled around her. Rachel's vision dimmed, constricted by unfathomable fear, grappling to maintain the threat of reality. Then Lila froze, voice shaking amidst her inner battle. I don't want this. It was the moment Rachel had been waiting for. The glimmer of hope wedged through darkness. But as Lila paused, the shadows responded, shifting violently, drawing in close. The very air crackled and compressed, and Rachel sensed the final choice looming. They were at a crossroad, caught in a relentless storm where the lines between love and sacrifice blurred into a haze of desperation. But was this darkness stronger than her love? Just as the shadows lunged once more, Rachel's resolve ignited like the last flicker of a candle in a storm. Could she save her daughter before the darkness swallowed them whole? The answers lay just beyond reach, cloaked in the swirling chaos that threatened to tear them apart. And within that suffocating darkness, the ultimate question simmered. Was the bond of a mother's love strong enough to shatter the darkness, or would it merge with the shadows forever? The shadows lunged, their tendrils reaching out with an unnatural hunger, and Rachel felt them brush against her, cold and invasive. She gasped, fighting against the visceral pull of despair that seemed to wrap around her heart like a vice. "Lila!" she cried, her voice hoarse, nearly drowned out by the chorus of whispers swirling around her. She pushed through the clinging shadows, her body taut with determination. "You don't have to do this. We can leave together." In that moment, Lila stood suspended between two worlds, one pulsing with the warmth of her mother's love, the other shrouded in the darkness that promised power and understanding. But with every heartbeat, Rachel felt the distance grow, felt the grip of desperation gnawing away at her resolve. "Mom!" Lila shouted, tears glistening in her eyes. "Please. This isn't just about you. It's my choice." But Rachel could only see one choice, one that involved the price of innocence, a toll she wouldn't allow her daughter to pay. The shadows surged again, as if stoked by her fear, closing in tightly. They spiraled around Lila, attempting to pull her further into their depths. "No!" Rachel lunged forward, a fierce roar escaping her lips as she smashed through the pulsating frame of darkness that tried to bind her. She didn't care about the aching in her limbs or the tears streaming down her face. All she cared about was that unwavering connection to her daughter. The murmurs grew louder, taunting, screaming. "Join us, Lila. Embrace your true power." Each word felt like daggers, tearing at Rachel's hope and her strength. "Lila, listen to me." Rachel's breath was ragged, desperation spilling from her heart in every word. "You're stronger than this. You're not like them. You have a spark inside you, and it's brighter than any darkness." The shadows churned, angry that their bait had hesitated. They cavorted, swirling tighter around Marcus, who, despite their grip, wore an expression caught between fear and recognition. Rachel saw his eyes flash, a glimmer of the boy he used to be surfacing amid the chaos. "Marcus!" she called out again, this time with more intensity. "Fight it. You don't have to give in to them. You can be free." For a fragmented heartbeat, their gazes met. Then, like a dam breaking, something changed in the space between them. The shadows recoiled, wavering. In that instant, Rachel seized the opportunity, her heart racing as she stepped further into the darkness. "Pull her back." Greg's command cut sharply through the air, but Rachel ignored him, fueled by a need that eclipsed everything else. "Lila!" she cried, reaching out as the space between them narrowed. "You can still choose, darling. Break this connection. Let love guide you back." Lila's expression faltered, torn between the malevolent allure of the shadow and the desperate love of her mother. As she whispered, fear and longing clashing in her eyes as she began to take a hesitant step back, but the shadows writhed violently, pulsating as they realized their grip was loosening. "No!" Lena screamed, her face twisted in rage. "She is ours." With that one word, the shadows convulsed in fury, slamming against Rachel, the pressure forcing the air from her lungs. She stumbled, but a mother's love surged through her, a fierce light slicing through the haze, and a blinding flash. Lila turned, her hand stretching toward Rachel. "Mom!" Rachel felt the bonds of darkness begin to snap as their fingers intertwined. Just as the shadows lunged again, there was a moment, a heartbeat that stretched for eternity, where everything hung in precarious balance. Then all at once, light erupted from their clasped hands, illuminating the room, casting away the shrouds of darkness with a radiant force. The whispers turned to shrieks of frustration, dissipating into echoes of despair, folding in on themselves. But just as they began to gain ground, a ripple of chaos emerged from the corner of her eye. Unseen forces roared. The eerie laughter of the shadows pulled at the edges of her mind. Not yet, a voice hissed from the depths of the darkness, vibrating with ominous resonance. The sanctuary of light around them crackled and flickered. The sky seemed to dim. A new fear gripped Rachel's heart as she realized their fight was far from over. The shadows were not defeated. They were simply biding their time. An initiation loomed, more menacing than ever, threatening to ensnare them yet again. What will they come for next? Rachel thought, a chilling sense of dread creeping back in as the world around them began to fade. As darkness swirled, the question lingered like a storm on the horizon. Could Rachel and Lila withstand the relentless approaching darkness, or had they merely set the stage for something much worse? The darkness writhed around them, clinging like a thick fog, blurring the edges of reality. Rachel's heart raced, a relentless drumbeat filling her ears as she faced the threats coiling through the air. She held tightly to Lila's hand, feeling the warmth of her daughter's skin, even as the shadows tried to snuff out that light. Can you feel it? They're still here, Lila gasped, her voice trembling. A flicker of panic crossed her face as she looked around, eyes wide and searching. What do we do? Rachel's mind spun, her desperate thoughts colliding with the violent whispers that scratched at the edges of her sanity. We stand together, Lila, she urged, her voice steady despite the chaos. We don't let them win. We can fight them. The shadows shrieked in response, their voices a cacophony of rage and despair. Join us. You will never escape. You cannot resist your destiny. The words echoed, a sinister chant lashing the air with a sense of impending doom. Rachel clenched her teeth, pulling Lila closer. Remember what I said? Just because they think they know your destiny doesn't mean it's true. You have the power to shape your own fate. The shadows flickered, momentarily hesitating at Rachel's bold defiance. Lila's grip tightened, a flicker of doubt mingling with determination in her eyes. But what if they're right? What if there's something I need to understand? No. Rachel's voice rang out, sharper than it had been. You are not an extension of their darkness. You belong to the light. For a moment silence fell, thick enough to cut. It was as though the shadows were gathering themselves, drawing strength from the chaos around them. Greg and the others stood frozen, their faces masks of fear and incomprehension. The air thickened with a palpable tension, a sense of urgency looming like a storm ready to break. As if sensing weakness, the shadows surged forward again, tendrils of inky blackness reaching toward Lila, eager to pull her away. But just then, a bright spark flared, radiating from where Rachel and Lila remained linked. Together! Rachel shouted. We can do this together. She felt the energy flow between them, a bright, fierce warmth sparking in defiance of the encroaching despair. Lila met her mother's gaze, fear still glimmering within her, but also something else, strength. The shadows recoiled, momentarily stunned by the light they had underestimated. Then, without warning, a guttural roar erupted from the darkened corner of the room, an anguished scream that tore through the air like a knife. Marcus stumbled forward, caught in the grips of something far darker than before. He seemed a shell of himself, lost and searching, yet fighting against an internal battle that had ripped him apart. Help me! He cried, his eyes wild with confusion and pain. The shout sliced through Rachel's heart harder than any blade, and she was forced to confront the haunting reality. They couldn't save everyone. Marcus! Lila shouted, her voice trembling. You can fight this. You're stronger than this darkness. The shadows turned their attention, drawn to him, the allure of his potential a deadly bait. Embrace the true power, boy, the voice chimed, smooth and seductive. Lila, don't! Rachel gasped, a wave of horror crashing over her as she saw the pull of temptation unraveling the battlefield of their minds. The shadows gathered, ready to strike, ready to seize their moment of victory when everything hung in delicate balance. But Lila stepped forward, her own light burning brighter. No, I won't let you take him. In that pulse of courageous defiance, a flicker of hope ignited. A heartbeat later, Rachel felt it, a shift in the air. The shadows recoiled, almost as if sensing their impending defeat. We can help him, Lila! Rachel shouted, powerless but drawing from the determination clinging between them. But you have to believe. You have to believe in yourself. As Lila hesitated, Rachel could see her daughter fighting against the surging tide of darkness threatening to envelop her. The pressure built, clawing at the edges of Rachel's sanity and, In her chest, a cold fear wrapped around her heart. Would Lila pull free of the darkness gripping her friends and their minds? Or would they all claim victory in this twisted game, drawing her deeper into the shadows? The darkness trembled, an air of uncertainty pressing in. Rachel gripped Lila's hand tighter, desperation battling against hope. The unyielding shadows shifted again, their laughter a soft, sinister tide. Choose well, young one, the voice slithered, still lingering, echoing in the corners of Rachel's mind, strong enough to choke. What would Lila choose when the shadows revealed their true intent? Lila's breath hitched, uncertainty rippling across her face as she wrestled with the weight of the moment. The shadows loomed, pulsing with darkness, eager to seize her. But Rachel felt the warmth of their bond shining stronger than ever. Lila, listen to me. You have to trust yourself. Rachel's voice trembled, fueled by a raw intensity that cut through the chaos. This isn't just about him. It's about you. Your strength, your light. For a heartbeat, Lila seemed to waver between the shadows and her mother. Those dark tendrils whispering sweet promises of power and belonging, closed around her like cold fingers, yet in her eyes flickered a faint glow. That spark. Rachel grasped it, her heart racing. Remember the nights we stayed up late, dreaming of the future? The love you have within you is stronger than any darkness. Rachel shouted, every ounce of her being committed to reaching her daughter. A fleeting moment of clarity crossed Lila's features, and Rachel seized upon it. You've always been so much more than anyone else has ever seen. You define your path. No, Lena shrieked, her anger lacing the air with a tangible dread. The shadows shrieked back in fury, swirling violently as they felt their power slipping. In that moment, the choice crystallized within Lila's heart. Tears streamed down her cheeks as she took a deep breath, summoning the courage from Rachel's unwavering love. She stepped away from Marcus, pushing against the dark anchors clamoring for her. I'm not afraid anymore. The shadows recoiled for just a moment, confusion replacing their once ironclad grip. With fierce determination, Lila turned to Marcus, her heart breaking but her resolve unyielding. You can fight this. We can fight this. I don't know how, Marcus cried, panic etched deeply in his features. Shadows writhed around him, dark tendrils desperate to reclaim him. Believe, Lila shouted, the power of her voice slicing through the din. We can be free. And in that ethereal space between horror and hope, Lila's light ignited a radiant glow that filled the air, driving back the darkness inch by inch. The shadows writhed in protest, shrieking against the warmth enveloping them, but they were losing their hold. The barriers separating Lila and Rachel, Marcus and the darkness began to dissolve. Rachel, help me, Marcus finally cried, reaching out, his eyes wide with recognition. Fight it, Marcus. Remember who you truly are. Rachel urged desperately, her heart aching for him too. The very ground trembled beneath them as the shadows surged once more, angry at their impending defeat. But Lila stood unyielding, a beacon of resilience, her mother's words resonating deep within. You don't own me. I choose my own fate. In an explosion of light, the darkness convulsed, disoriented by the unexpected strength lighting the night. Fortified by love and shared bravery, Lila reached back for Marcus, their fingers just brushing at first, but igniting that bond a glow so bright it shattered the remaining darkness. Together, Lila shouted as she pulled Marcus into the suffusion of her radiant energy. It blazed like a sun breaking free after a storm. The mob of shadows writhed and twisted, their whispers melting into pained wails, spiraling away into the nothingness from which they came. The darkness that had haunted them began to recede, leaving only vacant echoes and trembling silence, like the residue of a nightmare fading at dawn. Lila crumpled into her mother's arms, tears of relief escaping as Rachel held her tight, both hearts beating in sync. You did it, sweetheart. You faced them together. Mom, I was so scared. Lila sobbed, her body shaking with the weight of what they had just endured. And that's okay. Being scared doesn't mean you aren't brave. Rachel whispered into her daughter's hair, her own tears flowing freely. You chose love over darkness. That makes you stronger than you'll ever know. Marcus stood nearby, a faded shadow of the boy trapped by darkness, now feeling the warmth return to him. I am so sorry, he stammered, guilt etched in every line of his face. I was lost. Lila stepped back slightly, her voice steadying as she looked at him. Then don't let yourself be lost again. We can overcome this together. As dawn broke outside, the golden rays of light spilled into the remnants of the dark gathering, illuminating their newfound hope. The shadows that had once loomed large were nothing more than a flicker now, banished by the brightest of lights, the love that radiated among them. They stood as a united front, Rachel, Lila, and even Marcus, on a threshold of healing, ready to confront the future uncloaked by fear. With the sun welcoming them, Rachel breathed in, filling her lungs with a new way forward, a promise for brighter days ahead. "We'll face everything together," she said, glancing between Lila and Marcus, their futures entwined with a newfound strength. And as they stepped out into that light, Rachel couldn't help but feel a swell of gratitude. They were no longer victims of shadows. They were fighters, and together, they would create the lives they dreamed of, all built upon love that could conquer even the deepest darkness. Their journey was far from over, but in that moment, it felt like a victory, and as they walked into that dawn, let it echo through the world. Never underestimate the power of love and the strength that comes from standing united against darkness. Now, for those of you still here, I need you to do something urgent and important. If you want to be part of the journey and never miss another exclusive story, you need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support. Smash the like button now so it feeds the algorithm and helps us spread these stories to more people. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this wild conclusion. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this powerful ending. Together, let us keep the light shining bright.